there are photographs, and then there are photographs that feel like a doorway. One moment, you're staring at an old piece of paper, and the next, you're standing inside another era. A crowded Hollywood street, a glamorous premiere, a quiet room filled with cigarette smoke and whispered conversations. And somewhere inside those frozen moments are people the world once couldn't stop watching. Today, we're opening that forgotten vault. Nearly 100 rare photographs, some famous, some almost completely forgotten, and each one hiding a story that isn't always obvious at first glance. Because behind the red carpets, the perfect smiles, and the legendary names, there was another Hollywood, a quieter one, a more human one. So look closely, because sometimes the smallest detail in an old photograph tells the biggest story. Welcome to Cracus. And if you love discovering the stories hidden inside history, stay with us. When we think of a classic Hollywood, we usually remember the glamour, the beautiful gowns, the sharp suits, the movie posters, the flashing cameras. But photographs have a strange way of revealing what movies never could. They show us people when they weren't performing, a husband quietly watching his wife, a couple laughing when they thought nobody was looking, two stars sharing a private joke in the middle of a crowded event. These weren't carefully written scenes. There was no script, no director shouting, "Action," just a camera and a single moment that happened to survive. And that's what makes these photographs so fascinating. Because for a fraction of a second, the legend disappears and a real person takes their place. Now look at the dates appearing beside these photographs. They're more than numbers. They're pieces of a story. Some of these couples stayed together for decades, growing older side by side while the world around them changed. Others had relationships that burned brightly, but only for a few years. And then there were those romances that seemed almost impossible, yet somehow became part of Hollywood history. Fame has a price. Every relationship was watched. Every smile could become a headline. Every disagreement could become tomorrow's gossip. And still, some of these people found a way to hold on to each other. Others simply couldn't. But here's the interesting part. Even when the relationship didn't last, the photograph did. A single frame, preserved forever. Not every love story needs a wedding ring. And Hollywood has always been proof of that. Some couples married, some never did. Some stayed together quietly for years, far away from the cameras. Others were swept into romances that lasted only a season, but became legendary. There were secret relationships, rumored affairs, unbreakable friendships, and connections that were never fully explained. Of course, we can only guess what happened beyond the frame, but perhaps that's part of the magic. Because an old photograph doesn't tell us everything. It simply gives us a glimpse, a look, a smile, a hand resting gently on someone's shoulder, and suddenly we're left wondering what happened just before and what happened just after. Perhaps the most powerful thing about an old photograph is something we know that the people inside it didn't. We know what happened later. We know who lived, who disappeared, who passed away too soon. We know which marriages survived and which ones quietly fell apart. But the photograph doesn't know any of that. Inside that tiny frame, the moment is still alive. They're still smiling, still laughing, still young, still looking at each other, as if nothing could ever change. And that's why some photographs feel almost haunting. Not because they're sad, but because they're frozen. Time moved forward. Their lives changed. The world changed. But that 1 second refused to disappear. Perhaps that's the closest thing photography has ever given us to time travel. And then, something else becomes impossible to ignore. The world itself begins to change. The elegant formality of the 1940s and 1950s slowly gives way to the freedom of the 1960s, and then the bold, rebellious energy of the 1970s and 1980s. The clothes become louder, the hairstyles become bigger, the poses